Have you ever encountered a hurdle with launching or growing your business? Listen, there are two things that run a business, the back end and your soft skills.
Telling you right now, if these aren't in place, you'll lose clients and you'll lose money. You don't want that? Well, you're in the right place.
Hey, I'm Dana.
Hey, I'm Sarah.
We're your hosts of the Entrepreneur Encounter, and we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes glance into our businesses, give you genuine feedback, tips and tricks, plus occasionally bring on guests that care about supporting you to grow your business organically and nurturing authentic relationships. Are you ready? Hey friends, it's Dana, part of the duo of Entrepreneur Encounter. If you're like me, you're always trying to squeeze in a workout among the chaos of running a business and managing your personal life. I've got a little tip for you. I've been using this app called Alpha Progression, and it's been a genuine game changer for my fitness routine. I literally get to bring the gym to my home. It's super intuitive and helps me stay on track with my goals, even on my busiest days. Just thought I'd share. Check it out if you're looking for a convenient way to stay fit. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Entrepreneur Encounter. Today, we have a special guest with us talking about soft skills in a very unique way for that true, genuine work-life balance. Her name is Abby. She's a nutritionist and food relationship coach, and she specializes in nutrition and eating disorder recovery. Welcome, Abby.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
This is a long time coming.
Yes. Yes, I feel like we've had this idea for a while and now we're finally doing it.
This is awesome.
That's literally how this podcast started, was a long time idea.
I love that.
So, Abby, will you take a few minutes and kind of talk to us about who you are and kind of how you got into this niche?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Abby Mallard. As Dana said, I'm a nutritionist and I focus a lot on self-love and food freedom, helping people heal their relationships with their bodies, their food, their movement, really creating good, healthy relationships with those aspects of our lives. And the soft skills we're talking about today, self-awareness, emotional regulation, and self-compassion are huge pieces of what I work on with clients. A lot of the work that I do is with people who are in some type of eating disorder recovery, whether it's an actual eating disorder or just some disordered eating and unhealthy conditioning around food. So first, I like to make sure that they're getting what they need nutritionally, but then I like to move them more into like the intuitive eating. And a lot of that comes with self-awareness. I think a lot of times we're not really taught self-awareness. So it's something that I love working on with people. A little background of why I got into this. I struggled with an eating disorder when I was younger for about 6 or 7 years and worked with a dietitian and a therapist and a whole team of people and did a lot of healing work. So now that I'm at a really healthy place, it's my greatest passion and joy to help other people who are in some of those same spots that I used to be in.
That's an inspiring story because a lot of us that start off as entrepreneurs, we definitely use our story to start a business because we want to really help other people as well. So I love that you took your backstory and what you learned and what you went through now that you're helping others do the same thing.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's really cool and inspiring to be able to use what you've gone through and have some type of good or happiness come from it. Even I would not wish that on anyone, that I'm able to use that to help other people and relate to where they're at. Yeah, it's cool.
I was going to say that it gives you a very unique perspective of empathy because you're not someone with this grand idea of you just want to help, but you fully understand triggers and how important habits are in your self-awareness journey to help someone else. Like, I completely understand. I may not know exactly what you're going through, but I at least understand the stress and overwhelm and anything else that you're kind of hurdling over. I like that. How do you help your clients understand their triggers and like create more positive habits in that self-awareness journey?
Lots of practice. Lots of practice. I always encourage people and remind them that it's not an overnight journey. Like so many of us, when we're on some type of healing journey or health journey, we want it to all happen overnight. We want it to all change, whether it's with business or health or healing. We want everything, all of the success and all of the good to come right away. And that's just not how it works. I mean, I wish sometimes that were how it worked, but I also don't think that we would grow and get to where we are if it actually happened that way. So lots of self-awareness. So little things that I have clients do, like I'll encourage them to notice after a meal how they feel, how food made them feel physically or mentally. I'll have them kind of keep like a journal of how they're feeling emotionally, mentally. A lot of times we talk through harder days in our actual sessions. So if they had a day where they kind of went backwards or had a behavior or something that they're trying to move forward from, then I kind of help them work through, because a lot of times they come in and they're like, I don't know why this happened. So I help them work through like, okay, this is what happened. Can you talk me through the day leading up to this or the day before? Was there anything different that happened? Was there anything emotionally dysregulating that happened? So a lot of it comes through the conversations that we have in me helping them understand, okay, you had a really hard conversation with someone that's emotionally dysregulating. So it's not surprising that 2 hours later, 3 hours later, you're using food as a coping mechanism. So a lot of it is just those little like mindset shifts of, oh, yeah, like that makes sense. Like I'm not crazy for having struggled with this, but it makes sense that I struggled with this because this happened and it made me feel this way. So then I reacted in this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
It does. I feel like the first thing to do is recognize that, at least for me, conversations that are like that, or speaking for entrepreneurs, losing a client for nothing that you did wrong. It's just their budget was changed or their personal life has changed. So now you are overwhelmed and stressed of having to replace them, or algorithms have changed. Whatever is seemingly small, I know I was raised, we don't really talk about it. And I can see with other people in my circle, they were raised, oh, it's not a big deal, just get over it. Well, they weren't taught how to get over it. So it's a big deal. And recognizing I had a bad conversation using your example, but not recognizing that really did bother me. You can't actually get over it unless you look it in the face, give it a name, do something about it. Then you can get over it. But just kind of ignoring it, you're letting it fester and build up. And now you're triggered in a way that you never recognized before.
Yeah, you have to process it. So that's something that I worked on with people, is actually, like you said, naming it. So I love to use the feelings wheel, where it has like all of the main feelings that we know, like happy, sad, angry, all of those major emotions in the middle. And then it works outwards to more intricate, specific feelings. And I find that it's so helpful for people to actually figure out what it is that they're feeling instead of, oh, I feel angry. Okay. Is it anger, or is there something else underneath the surface? Or, oh, I feel sad. Okay. Do you feel sad, or is it neglected or lonely, or like, what is the main feeling? And then from that, we don't want to just sit in that feeling because that's not fun. We do have to feel it. Like that's part of the process. But then figuring out, okay, if this is how I feel, then what do I need next? What's the next little right thing that I can do for myself that's going to help not fix the emotion, but help me cope and move through it in a healthy, more peaceful way and accepting way, like instead of beating myself up for feeling it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I know that self-awareness definitely is hard for anybody. Like you were saying, Abby, like trying to get down to the root of it, like, why are we feeling this way? And when I think of self-awareness too, I think of being in tune with who you are. Because if we're talking about food, as you age, your body goes through certain things. And the last year, I've become more in tune with what I consume and how my body reacts to it. I never thought about that before. And I always thought like, okay, why do I feel tired? Why do I feel bloated? Like all these things. But now I'm starting to like, okay, well, I just did this. This is making me feel this way. Okay, so now I know, like getting to the root of it. And it can be tough because another thing too, you don't want to acknowledge it either.
Right.
I'm just going to keep eating those bag of chips and I'll be fine. But like, no, it's causing me this issue. Like, you got to figure it out. It's challenging, but knowing that you can do that, I think would help you in the long run as well.
Yeah, I think that it's hard and it's good all at the same time. Like you said, like you don't want to acknowledge it maybe, or sometimes it's exhausting to acknowledge it and have to make changes or have to be aware that something, someone, or some situation is causing you to feel a certain way, because then that means you have to probably change something if you want something to change. Like if something is going to change, you have to change something. That's how it works.
What a marvelous idea.
Right? Yeah, but that's also something that I work on with clients is like, you don't have to have the self-awareness 1000% of the time, because sometimes, especially when you're working on something that's difficult and emotionally draining, emotionally hard, it's exhausting to have that awareness 100% of the time. And so it's like, okay, maybe take 2 hours out of the day to be aware. And then you can kind of let yourself zone out again. Or like maybe you pick one day a week that you're going to really focus in on being aware and also having the support as you're doing it. I think it's really important.
I definitely recommend support. Honestly, and no matter what you do, if it's just your entrepreneur journey that you're focusing on, you need a community. Sarah and I have talked about this before. For most people, they feel like your family should be your biggest support. But my family has no idea what I do and they don't understand it. And I'm 4 years into business and I'm tired of explaining what I do. So I found Sarah and I found my best friend, Beth, and I found other people that understand entrepreneurship and the struggles and the successes. That's my support system. My family is my support system when just my personal life is overwhelming. And through networking, I found you, Abby, who I had no life vented to about my own like health and wellness journeys.
Yeah.
But like a support system, even if it's just one person, can have a profound effect on the success and like helping you even just manage your stress and anxiety, because you now have someone to like share it with and it's not 100% on your shoulders.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think having someone in your corner when you're having those hard days or having those moments when you feel kind of like crazy, you can have them remind you that you're not crazy and that this is normal. And sometimes it's hard to do that for yourself. It's like you can tell yourself, okay, Abby, you're not crazy, but you don't really believe it until someone else is like, oh, that makes so much fucking sense.
That validation is perfect. That's a great segue. With that emotional regulation, like what techniques? So now we're aware that we have things we need to change and we're either uncomfortably or fearfully going down that path to make these changes now that we're more aware and we have support. How do we emotionally regulate good days and bad days for that matter, like meditation and mindfulness? What techniques do you recommend or do you favor in your own journey?
Oh, I love emotional regulation. It's so hard and so good and so important. The main thing I want to say is you want to practice it all the time, every day, whether you are feeling dysregulated or feeling regulated. Because when you're in moments of dysregulation, when you need those tools to regulate you, you want to already have practiced them and you want to already kind of know what you're doing. Also, when you practice something, your body starts to learn what it does for you. So when you're in dysregulation, when you do something that you've already done and your body is like, oh, right, that's where we're going. We're going back to the regulation. And so it's like it's almost tricking your body down a little, which is really cool. So some of the practices that I really like for emotional dysregulation, meditation and breath work are great. I will say meditation is sometimes really hard to do when you're feeling really dysregulated and chaotic and like your mind is going a million miles a minute. If someone is like really, really dysregulated, I'm not going to tell them to try to sit for 10 minutes and meditate, because to me, that's really hard. Maybe it works for you. And if it does, great. But a lot of times people need something that's kind of in between. So I use a lot of breath work with clients and myself. The goal for me with breath work is either box breathing, which is inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, or you can change the amount of time you're inhaling, but all of the inhales, holds, and exhales are the same. That helps to just kind of calm the nervous system. And then another one I really like to use is inhaling for like 4 counts through the nose and then exhaling through the mouth for 8 counts. So making your exhales longer than your inhales really helps to calm the nervous system, to calm the heart rate. So if someone is feeling really physically activated, that's a really good practice. So inhaling for 4 counts, exhaling for 8. A weighted blanket or a really big hug from someone, pressure on your body is really helpful.
I love help.
Yes, that's so good. Or like they make those weighted stuffed animals now from Target. My therapist has one of them in her office. It's the best thing.
I love my weighted blanket. I sleep with it often.
Yes, I love my weighted blanket too. Sometimes it's too hot, but I do really like my weighted blanket. So yeah, anything that's putting pressure on the body helps to regulate. And then like I just did a workshop on this not too long ago. And a lot of the different things that people were saying are helpful to them are like cleaning up the space around you, like making sure that everything's clean and in order helps to calm your mind too. When there's chaos around you, then you can feel more chaotic. Having a change of scenery. So if you're feeling really dysregulated and you're at home, maybe you go for a walk out in nature. Being outside is really calming and regulating. Humming or singing. These are a lot of different ideas, but like different things work for different people. So I want to kind of throw out a bunch. Singing and humming, anything that like activates that, it's called the vagus nerve that calms the nervous system. And humming or like that vibration helps to activate that vagus nerve. And then shaking. So shaking is a somatic movement and it's a really good practice for releasing emotion from your body. So if you're feeling really dysregulated and you're feeling really emotional, shaking is one of my favorite practices. You can do this in different ways. So you can either do it like through dance and just like moving all around. You can be in like a down dog, like in yoga and bounce your heels up and down. So like almost like twerking, but not really. And then you can also just like shake out different parts of your body very vigorously. You want to do it for like 5 or 10 minutes, but it's almost like just a whole reset for your mind and body.
So I'm getting Grey's Anatomy flashbacks. You know, when Meredith and Christina are always like overwhelmed or angry and they like have their bottle of tequila and just play music and they're not really dancing. They are just jumping and shaking their bodies. And that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
When I think about shaking, I think about head banging. Like,
oh yeah. Maybe not that for regulating.
It would work for Sarah.
Bop your head a little bit. Yeah. I mean, like sometimes if the kids are being crazy in the car, I'll like put my headphones on because we don't have a radio in the car. So I put my headphones on and just kind of like rock out. And I'm like, cool. Like I feel chilled out.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. I think that would work for Sarah, but she listens to more metal
I love
music. So that actually fits.
Yeah. Well, and music too is such a regulating thing also, like having those songs that bring you comfort or bring you joy.
For sure.
So those are some of the ones that I use a lot and I really enjoy. And also just finding what works best for you.
I love it.
Exactly. Like whatever works best for you, because there's all this information, right? Do this. This is going to help you, or do that. But there's all these things that you can do, like choose what is best for you. For me personally, I don't work out. Like I'll take walks. That's my form of exercise. But some people, whatever works for you, because we can't all be the same and do the same thing. Not everything is going to be the same for everybody.
Yeah. Well, and that comes back to the self-awareness piece too. Like whether it's with business, with regulating, with food, like every single person is different. Every single person's body is different. So noticing and being aware of how you feel and what's helpful for you.
Hey there, listeners. We know how challenging it can be to maintain a fitness routine when you're juggling so much already, from work and family obligations to everything else in between. That's why I wanted to share something that's really helped me, the Alpha Progression app. It's this awesome tool that creates personalized workout plans based on what you want to achieve and what equipment you already have. It's perfect for those of us who can always make it to the gym, but still want to stay active and strong. The thing I love most is how it takes the guesswork out of my workouts. The app suggests what weights to use and how many reps to do, so I always know I'm making progress. Plus, it's super user-friendly, which makes tracking my workouts a breeze. If you're interested in giving it a try, they're offering our community a special discount. Just head to alphaprogression.com/EEPod to start your free trial. Trust me, it's worth checking out if you want to stay on top of your fitness game without sacrificing your business goals.
Also, for me personally, if I'm stressed, I cry and it helps release everything and I feel so much better. It's so funny because I'll sit in front of my husband and say, I'm going to cry. And he sits there with me and I cry and then he gives me a hug and I'm like, okay, ready to take on the day. I feel so much better.
Yes.
Literally, it makes so much difference.
Yes.
They cry, baby, but I love it. It makes me feel a lot better.
I love that. I think almost once a month, I'll just start sobbing uncontrollably and my husband will walk in and be like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know. And he'll just give me a big hug. Or I'll try to cry to release it and it doesn't work. And then it's me at the most inconvenient times where I'm like, okay, well, now I'm stopping.
That happened to me on a walk a few weeks ago, maybe even last week, but I was supposed to meet with these women for their local walking group. And my friend called me and I was just venting, and without meaning to, I started to break down crying literally as they were gathering to leave. And I was like, oh, I'm not walking with you ladies today because I hadn't really met them yet. Felt like I do not want to introduce myself this way. So they were walking down the trail and I was like, I'm going to stay on the track. And I finished my cry with my friend and moved on.
And that's probably just what you needed, right?
I felt so much better within 5 or 10 minutes. This it was.
Yeah. For people who aren't criers, screaming into a pillow, if you need to get out some anger or emotion, screaming or punching a pillow is also very good.
Yeah. So to top it all off too, self-compassion, because we were saying, self-awareness, emotional regulation, we got to make sure that we're treating ourselves with kindness. Everybody, you'd probably be lying if you say no, but the whole negative self-talk, I'm not good enough. All these negative things that you're saying to yourself, again, that's the mindset. We've talked about the mindset too. You have to make that mindset shift. So yeah, I'm good enough. For me personally, I've to the point where I just don't care what other people think and I'm just going to do my own thing because it makes me feel good and it's not hurting nobody. So I'm going to say I'm doing great because I'm doing what I want to do,
Yeah. Self-compassion and self-talk is probably one of the hardest things for a lot of people, but it's so important. And it's also really hard to change. But your brain and yourself, you are the one that you are with 100% of the time, and you can't get away from that. So changing how you're talking to yourself is a really big piece to self-compassion. I have a practice that I like to do for myself and for clients where if they have something that they say to themselves, on a daily basis, whether it's I'm fat or I'm not good enough or I'm not doing enough, kind of figuring out what that main critic voice is in your head, and then figuring out what you can tell yourself instead. So for example, if someone is saying I'm fat to themselves on a daily basis, I don't want them to start to tell themselves that they're thin because their brain is going to call bullshit on that. Obviously that's not going to work. But can they find one part of their body that they really like and appreciate? And then can they tell themselves, okay, I have really pretty eyes, or I have really great hair, something that's going to kind of combat that negative voice, and then writing it down and putting it somewhere where you're going to see it all of the time. And also practicing saying it out loud to yourself, because our brains believe what we tell them and they believe what they hear. So we can change that narrative. It's going to take time, but we also have to see it and hear it over and over and over.
Yeah, for sure. So when we're talking about putting the positive notes on something, I did that for a while because I was feeling down I was going through a hard time and I was like, where am I going? Am I good enough? It was like right after I lost my job and I wasn't sure what I was doing. So I wrote all these like nice things to myself and I put it on the mirrors every time I went to go brush my teeth. I'm good enough. I'm beautiful. All these things. And told my husband, I'm like, keep that there. Do not take it down. And I had it on the mirror for a good like few months. And next thing you know, I took it down because I didn't need it anymore because I felt good after that.
Yeah.
Things were going great. So self-compassion can be really challenging, especially when we start our business, when we start on the entrepreneurial journey. We're so ready to do these things, but then there's so much noise. And then you realize, or you think like, am I really that good enough to actually do this thing? For you, Abby, you took your personal experience and you turned it into this amazing thing to where you're helping other individuals, help them go through the process because you've come from experience and you've had that experience, which to me is great because I would rather work with you than somebody else that doesn't have the experience. So that's great. And I believe like when we talk about self-awareness and talking about like doing the things that you want to do, whatever works for you as well.
Yeah. And it's easy to kind of get in your head what you're not doing right or what other people are going to think about you or whatever it is.
Right. Exactly. I know when we started this podcast, I was afraid. I was like, I don't think this is going to be great, but we'll see. We'll just go for it and see what happens. And I think we're almost about 2.5 years in. The first year, I was like, are we really going to keep doing this? Like, you know what I mean? But as you start doing things over and over again, you practice, you build that confidence, you are able to just go with it. And if it doesn't work, try something else.
Yeah, you can pivot and change it. And surrounding yourself with those people who are going to like encourage you and appreciate what you're doing, I think is so important, especially in the entrepreneurial life.
Exactly. Aside from the people in my network, outside of my network, I don't know anybody that has their own business, like my friends, my family, nobody. So it's like, I'm doing this out of nowhere. I'm just going to give it a go and see what happens, you know?
Yeah. And so amazing.
Yeah. It's awesome. So Abby, do you have any more tips or anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
I mean, just in closing, the reminder that you're not crazy and you're not alone. And I think a lot of times we feel like we're the only ones who struggle. And that is so not the case. Like you're not the only one who struggles. A lot of times when we feel like a failure or we feel just not great about where we're at, it feels like we're alone in it. You're not alone. A lot of other people are in that same spot. So I would say that's probably like my main big takeaway from today. Like practice a couple different regulating techniques, see what works best for you, practice that awareness, and remember that you're not crazy and you're not alone.
And where can our listeners find you, connect with you?
Yeah. So my business is called Health My Friend. I have a podcast called Health My Friend. My Instagram handle is Health My Friend. And I have a website. It's healthmyfriend.com. I try to keep everything very simple and streamlined for you. So those are all the places you can find me. My website has a bunch of different information on working with me one-on-one. And then if you follow me on Instagram, I always reach out to people who join me there in that community. So you'll get a message from me and then we can connect more if there's something that you'd like to talk more about. So those are some good ways to find me.
Awesome. Well, it was so great to have you today. And as always, all of our information is going to be in the show notes. Until next time, bye.
Bye.